Everybody, Brian Good here on this, what is today? Tuesday. I'm going to get my days confused out there. Several things to talk about today. Obviously, we need to get into Christmas week and discuss that, and we will. Today hasn't been a big deal when it comes to the snow side of things at all. Still got some flurries flying around in spots. I'll show you that in a second. But the wind and the cold, by all means, is the most impactful thing today. I just spent about 30 minutes outside something for work here, and I feel like everything on my body is frozen right now, and that's being bundled up. Felt that way. So that wind chill has a bite to it, and it will for the rest of the day today. And the sun's coming out in spots, so it's going to be a decent day through the window. But it's the idea that we're just going to be just so cold outside. But this has been one of our saving graces, one of a few to keep things quiet on the roads here today, is the fact that pavement temperatures are always slower to fall than the air temperature, and they are slowly catching up, but we're past the rush hour period now, so we're fine. The wind is another factor. It's been up and out. If we had anything as far as the drizzle, the wind took care of that and dried up the roads. The gusts so far have been in the 30s. Now, the last gust came in at 23 miles per hour, but we had a gust of 35 around 7 o'clock. So it's been windy, and that adds a lot to that wind chill. And we'll have these gusts again off and on up to 35 miles per hour, certainly possible as we throughout the day. It's part of a couple fronts, really, that have been passing through, a pair of fronts. First one came through during the overnight. This is the second one that's really kicking the wind up here and really allowing for not only the cold wind, but it's also pushing in some dry air, and that's going to shut down a lot of the flurry action for us locally. The better moisture is here across central and southern Kentucky, and that's moving away with the first front. So now it's just the wind fields, and what it's doing here on the Lake Michigan, which is beautiful to look at, really, it's pulling the moisture off of it and stretching out as far as it can go, kind of like a rubber band, until it runs out and then fades. So that's why it's got a limit to how far it can go. But I think Cincinnati is going to be in that zone today. And this is where we could get a spotty 1 inch total today. We'll be in that band there. Otherwise, other than flurries and a few spots, we're not talking about much on the way on the snow side here today, guys. So let's talk about the numbers outside. Last check, 35 degrees, below freezing now into Salem, below freezing in Bedford, right at 30 there into Seymour, 32 and freezing into E-Town at the moment. So we're still dealing with some very cold wind chills indeed around the area. We do have temperatures falling back below freezing all the way through the rest of the afternoon into the teens for wind chills. I mean, bitterly cold air is what we're talking about as we head into later on for tonight. So bundle up and bundle up the kids. Here's our Futurecast model showing as we head through the next 24 hours. We are going to be dealing with another wave, another little clipper will move across the northern tier of our counties as we head into tomorrow. Now, look, the first wave looks like it'll miss us and move toward Ohio, but the second piece of that, as it moves around, may be able to spark off a rain or snow shower right now up 71 Indiana. That's most risk for that to take place, so it doesn't look to be a huge issue. Now, we may see, as that colder air sinks in for Thursday, may see a few flurries. I did account for that. I gave you flurries into the forecast for that period, so it is certainly possible. But overall, it's not going to be a big deal on the snow side either. All right, so let's look at a couple of the models here as we look down the road. First off, when it comes to the GFS, it does see, again, a little wave there on Thursday, Wednesday into Thursday, a few flurries. Now, we were looking for a connecting point yesterday, whether or not the next little vort that comes in could develop and connect to a low off the eastern seaboard and become something bigger. It's just not really happening here. If it does try to phase at all, it's going to be east of us, so this is going to be more of a mountains issue, and perhaps I-95 feeling some effects of that. But for us, other than some flurries, I don't see much happening here either with this one. So very much a non-event to talk about all the way through the weekend. Now, the weekend we do feature a warm out. Now, the GFS is slower with bringing in this next wave of rainfall into the area. It takes a while. And there will be an upper low with this as it moves on by, as we're changing the NAO. The North Atlantic Oscillation is going to be flipping, and as that happens, there could be a change here in the weather pattern in general for at least a brief period. This upper low, we'll have to watch it. Right now, the GFS is keeping it all rain here as we went to our early portions of next week, and then moves it on out. And then we see the warm up that will then create the bigger storm that's going to impact this for Christmas week that we'll get into in a second. Here's the Euro. Again, it does show that little clipper moving down for Wednesday. Again, a rain or snow shower possible. It'll clip our northern counties. Could see a flurry, though, as we get the colder area in at night. But once again, there's no connecting point here to the wave Friday off the eastern seaboard. There's no connecting point being made there. So that, again, is looking less and less likely. Now here's the Euro, and here's that upper low idea, and again it's just one operational run of this model. We'll see what the midday run says, and we'll go from there. But I have seen this many times when we go from one version of the NAL to another. When it flips, you can't get a cutoff low scenario that takes place because it's like a little system gets left behind, if you will. That is possible with the weekend setup. We'll see if that happens or not, because that could allow for maybe some sleet mixed in with the rain before it ends. But I stress, this is another one where it doesn't look to be a big deal. Okay, it moves on out. There we go with the warming trend, and then again, stage being set for what is going to happen is waiting to Christmas week. Speaking of that, let me show you the ensembles. Ignore the GFS up here. Here's the GFS ensemble, the Euro ensemble, and the Canadian. This is for Christmas Day. The white line is the rain-snow line aloft on average. Kentucky is like right, my pen will work, and it will in a second. Right there is Kentucky. Notice we are basically on the line. What I'm seeing growing signs of here, guys, is that this setup here for Christmas weekend is looking very likely for a significant winter storm to take place across the Midwest, Tennessee Valley area. The problem is, with that kind of a significant setup, it is likely to be one that is going to feature a more northerly track than southerly. We'll see. Right now, the rain-snow line is right on the edge of us. We don't like to be at that point, but that's what we seem to be always accustomed to for our area. So, at the moment, it looks like areas north of us would have a greater potential for something on the wintry side versus those of us here in wave country, but it's still early in the game. We'll see how it plays out. What we can tell you, we're still seeing signs of cold air to the north, a lot of moisture to the south, and a very dynamic setup taking place here. Significant system. So it does bear watching. A lot of you were talking about the analogs that came out showing all this. Well, I mean, and looking at the snow part of that too, keep in mind even the significant snow, which it was analog based anyway, is mainly to our north. Not much of a factor here locally. In fact, just for fun, I love these maps from Ryan Maui. He does a great job at weather.us. This is our chance at seeing at least an inch of snow for Christmas. Right now, Louisville's about 22%, and it goes up to about 40% in northern counties and about 30 to 40% in around Lexington. That's model-based, not historically based. I'm talking about what the model is thinking right now of about at least 1 inch from the Euro. 22%. Just for fun, what does it say about at least a foot of snow? 2% right now. So again, nothing to get too excited about on that idea, but I thought that was fun to at least show what the long-range models were indicating there. So, having said all that, mumble that I've been doing now here for the past 7 minutes, we got on the snowboard our flurries today. A few flurries Thursday night into Friday. We'll see if we can get some sleet mixed in with that upper low on Sunday and Monday deal. I may have to take that off the board though. And then for right now, I'm going to go with the potential for rain, maybe some thunderstorms, and then potentially getting into a mixed deal before ending a snow. That's the way it's looking right now. I would say the more north and west you are at this point, the more the snow idea that we're looking at for Christmas, the more south you are, the more it's going to be rain. I do think we'll have a surge into the 60s, by the way, before we get to that point. So there's a lot going on for Christmas weekend into Christmas Day. A lot of dynamics are going to come into play here. So there's going to be a lot of craziness on the models. Don't get caught up in that. All right? You're going to get your emotions tore all to pieces. For either you're a snow hater or you're a snow lover, your emotions going to go all over the place if you pay too much attention to the models. You've got to look at the overall concept here that we're looking at, and that is going to be the cold air moving in, a lot of moisture to the south. Stage is set for a dynamic system. We just got to figure out where the pieces lay out and play out, and we don't know that, and we won't know that for several more days. So hang tight. I know it's Christmas, and everybody wants a white Christmas. I get that, but we got to go slow with this one. All right, we'll see how it looks coming up tomorrow.